Am I the jerk for cutting off my daughter's college fund after she chose her deadbeat bio mom? I'm a single dad to my 18-year-old daughter, Emma. Her bio mom left us when she was young, and I've raised her with the help of my wife, who has been a wonderful mother figure. Recently, Emma started reconnecting with her bio mom, and I initially supported this, hoping it would be a positive experience. However, it quickly became apparent that her bio mom hadn't changed. Emma began making excuses for her and started exhibiting increasingly hostile behavior toward my wife. She would say things like, "Maybe I'll just move in with my mom and leave you both behind," and "You're not my real mom anyway, so what do you care?" It escalated to threats where she implied she would ruin our lives if we tried to stop her from pursuing this relationship. During a heated argument, Emma expressed her desire to move in with her bio mom. This was the breaking point for me. Feeling that I needed to set boundaries, I decided to cut off her college fund and told her she had to leave our home. Since then, my family has been vocal about their disapproval. They believe I should have been more understanding and that I overreacted. Some even argue that I'm pushing her further away and harming our relationship permanently. They think I should have tried harder to support her rather than resorting to such drastic measures. AITA for taking this step, or was I justified in cutting her off? Update 1. Thanks to everyone who commented on my original post. I didn't expect to have an update so quickly, but a lot has happened in just the past few hours. About 5 hours after I posted, I got a message from Emma asking if we could meet up. She suggested a nearby coffee shop, and although I was unsure of what to expect, I agreed to meet her. When I arrived, I could tell right away that something was different. Emma looked exhausted and stressed, not at all like the confident person who left our home. She told me that her time with her bio mom had been a disaster. Not only had her mom treated her coldly, but she also demanded an exorbitant amount of money for rent, far more than Emma could afford. It became clear to Emma that her mom wasn't interested in having a real relationship with her, just in using her for financial gain. Emma was visibly upset as she apologized for the way she had treated me and my wife. She admitted that she made a huge mistake and asked if she could come back home. It was obvious she was genuinely remorseful, and she said she realized now how much we had done for her. I told her that I'm willing to work on rebuilding our relationship, but it's going to take time and effort on both sides. We discussed setting some boundaries and working through the issues that led to all of this in the first place. She agreed, and we left the coffee shop with a plan to move forward, one step at a time. It's not going to be an easy road, but I'm hopeful that we can heal from this and come out stronger on the other side. I'm still processing everything, but I'm relieved that Emma wants to make things right. Update 2. Hey everyone, I've got another update, and things have gotten even more intense since my last post. A day after Emma and I reconciled, her bio mom showed up at our house. I didn't expect her to come here, but she was furious, screaming about how I had taken her daughter away and how I was trying to turn Emma against her. She was completely out of control, and it quickly became clear that she wasn't going to leave peacefully. I tried to calm her down, but nothing worked, so I had no choice but to call the cops. When the police arrived, Emma was visibly shaken. As they escorted her mom away, Emma asked me to press charges. She was done with her mom's manipulations and wanted to protect herself from any further harm. While we were dealing with the fallout, Emma mentioned that her bio mom had access to her credit card. We decided to check her account, and that's when we discovered something shocking. Her mom had taken out $10,000 without Emma's knowledge. We were both stunned and heartbroken. After reporting the theft to the police, we started doing some digging of our own. We found out that Emma's bio mom was drowning in debt. She'd been using Emma as a financial lifeline, which explained the outrageous demands for rent and the recent theft. She was desperate and willing to do anything to get her hands on more money. We provided all the evidence to the police, and they're now investigating her for fraud. Emma is devastated, but also relieved that the truth is coming to light. We're working with the bank to try to recover the stolen money, and I've hired a lawyer to help us navigate the legal process. This whole situation has been incredibly tough on Emma, but she's been strong through it all. We're focusing on moving forward and rebuilding trust. I'm grateful that she came back home when she did, because who knows how much worse things could have gotten if she'd stayed with her mom any longer. It's going to take time to heal from all of this, but we're on the right path now. Emma knows she has our full support, and we're committed to helping her get through this. I'm just glad we caught on to what was happening before it was too late. Edit. Actually deleted the post, but I have an update. I am waiting for some views before updating again. Something happened. Ada has no consensus spot. OP received mixed reactions. Editor's notes. OP has made prior comments on the deleted original post, adding some comments here for more context. OP on his wife's role in his daughter's life as a stepmom/maternal figure. OP. My wife has been her maternal figure ever since she was 3, so she has a say in it, and also the bio mom has never raised a finger in raising. I raised her and always gave her what she wanted to a certain extent though. Commenter 1. Ida, you are in your feelings and not being understanding and a parent. You are upset because she's rejecting your wife. You are disregarding her feelings when she says you loved your wife more instead of asking why does she feel like that. You may think your wife is this great person, but she may not be to your daughter. You're protecting your wife because your daughter is rejecting her. Allow her space to navigate that relationship. Her mom, without you punishing her. OP. I have seen firsthand how my wife treats my daughter. To be exact, she did all the work for my daughter as my wife is sterile and would help in holiday HW maths, and even hug her, and my daughter would always praise her when I asked her if she had any problems with her. Commenter 2. Yes. You are being petty. She's an adult now, and she wants to establish a relationship with her mom. For you to punish her for choices that have nothing to do with her college education is incredibly irresponsible and makes you just as bad as her mom. OP. Her mom abandoned her and never looked back until she was 18. Obviously am compelled. Commenter 3. Just let her figure out that her bio mom is a piece of shit. That's the best way to go about it. Update 3. Hey everyone, I've got another update, and this one has been extremely difficult for our family. After we pressed charges and discovered the theft of $10,000 from Emma's credit card, her bio mom started harassing us nonstop. It started with constant phone calls and text messages, both to me and Emma, begging, demanding, and threatening us to drop the lawsuit. She even began showing up at our workplaces. At my office, she caused a scene, screaming at the receptionist to let her in, calling me a thief, and claiming I was ruining her life. Emma's job wasn't spared either. Her bio mom went there too, embarrassing her in front of her coworkers and even threatening to expose personal details about our family if we didn't drop the charges. We tried to block her out, but things came to a head when she showed up at our house again. This time, she was even more out of control. She started screaming and calling my wife all kinds of vile names, including a nasty whore, claiming she had stolen Emma from her. We tried to get her to leave, but she refused. And then it happened. She physically attacked my wife. She shoved her into a wall and started hitting and scratching her. Emma and I were in complete shock. My wife was just trying to defend herself, but her bio mom kept coming at her. Seeing my wife terrified and hurt was my breaking point. I immediately called the cops. When the police arrived, they arrested her for assault. My wife is now traumatized from the incident. She's been struggling with anxiety and can't sleep well, knowing that she was physically attacked in her own home. She's seeing a therapist to try to deal with the emotional scars left from this nightmare. Emma is devastated too. She never imagined her bio mom would go this far, and seeing her attack my wife has left her shaken. We're doing everything we can to support each other, but the impact has been immense. Now, with her bio mom in custody and facing multiple charges, including assault and harassment, we're hoping we can finally find some peace. It's hard to believe how far this situation has escalated, but I'm glad that, at least for now, we're safe from further harassment. We'll be taking legal steps to ensure a restraining order is in place moving forward. This has been a painful chapter for my family, but we're determined to get through it together. Thank you again for all your support during this time. It's been a lifeline for us. Update 4. I wasn't planning to write another update so soon, but life had other plans. Just when I thought things might start to settle down, chaos knocked on our door again, literally. Emma and I were at home, trying to piece together some sense of normalcy. My wife was finally starting to relax a little, though she still jumped at every unexpected noise. The anxiety still clung to our home like a stubborn shadow. Then, one night, there was a loud banging on the front door. My heart sank, and I could see Emma's eyes widen in fear. It wasn't the police, nor was it any family member. I cautiously peered through the window, and there she was, Emma's bio mom's boyfriend. Let's call him Travis. I'd seen him before, a wiry, mean-looking guy with a permanent scowl and a voice that grated like sandpaper. He shouted my name, fists pounding against the door so hard I thought it might crack. "I know you're in there, you coward," he yelled. "Open up, or I'll make you wish you had." Emma's face went pale, and I could see the silent panic rising in her. My wife, who was in the kitchen, froze mid-step, eyes wide with terror. I motioned for them to stay back and dialed 911. The operator's voice was calm, but my pulse roared in my ears as Travis continued his assault on the door, shouting a litany of threats and accusations. "You think you can mess with people's lives and just get away with it? You've got another thing coming." Minutes felt like hours. The banging stopped for a moment, and I hoped he'd given up. But then I heard the distinct sound of glass shattering. The kitchen window. My wife screamed, and instinct kicked in. I rushed toward the sound just in time to see Travis trying to climb through the broken window, shards still clinging to the frame, his eyes wild with rage. Without thinking, I grabbed the nearest thing, a metal coat rack, and swung it at him. It caught him on the shoulder, and he lost his balance, tumbling backward onto the porch. The police arrived seconds later, their flashing lights casting eerie shadows across the front yard. They pulled Travis to his feet and restrained him as he continued to yell obscenities, blaming me for everything that had happened to Emma's bio mom. They cuffed him and hauled him into the back of a cruiser while neighbors gathered on their lawns, murmuring and pointing. It turns out Travis had a history of violence. He'd been emboldened by Emma's bio mom's situation and thought he'd play the hero, or so he said. He claimed he was defending her honor, but really, he was just another unstable element in an already volatile situation. Emma was trembling, silent tears running down her face as she watched him get taken away. My wife sank to the floor, shaking, and I wrapped my arms around both of them, not caring who saw. It felt like the world had spun completely out of control. We're taking this as a final, brutal wake-up call. We're installing more security measures, cameras, reinforced locks, the whole 9 yards, and our lawyer is fast-tracking a restraining order not just against Emma's bio mom, but also against Travis. Emma is talking to a counselor to process everything that's happened. My wife and I are both looking into therapy, too. We need it. This chapter isn't closed yet, and I don't know when it will be. The weight of what's happened is something we'll carry for a long time. But as I sit here, replaying the chaos of that night in my head, there's one thing I know for sure. We're done being victims. We're fighting back, together. Update 5. I wish I could say things quieted down after Travis's arrest, but it seems the storm still has a few more lashes left in it. The days that followed were a blur of police reports, meetings with our lawyer, and frantic phone calls. The restraining orders were expedited, and every creak and groan of the house made us jump. We were all running on frayed nerves, but we clung to each other like lifelines. Just when we thought we could start to catch our breath, Emma received an anonymous letter in the mail. It was handwritten, scrawled in shaky penmanship that immediately put me on edge. The contents were chilling. You can't keep her from me. Blood is thicker than your lies. There was no signature, but we didn't need one. Emma's bio mom was making it clear that she wasn't done with her twisted game. Emma's hands trembled as she read it, and I could see the color drain from her face. It took everything in me to keep my own panic from showing. I needed to be the steady force she could lean on. We immediately reported the letter to the police, who promised to investigate, but I could see the skepticism in their eyes. Without a direct threat or solid proof linking it to her, it was just another brick in the growing wall of paranoia pressing down on us. That night, Emma couldn't sleep. She sat curled up on the living room couch, blanket wrapped tightly around her shoulders like armor. I sat beside her, silent, watching the shadows dance across the walls as the clock ticked toward dawn. My wife joined us after a while, the three of us sitting in the dark, bound by fear and exhaustion. 2 days later, our doorbell rang. I looked out and saw a delivery driver standing on the porch with a large, unmarked box. It felt wrong. I opened the door cautiously, signed for the package, and brought it inside. Emma stood nearby, eyes locked on the box as if it might explode. We opened it slowly. Inside was a pile of old photographs, pictures of Emma from when she was a baby, photos I didn't even know existed. There were also pictures of our house, taken from a distance, some of Emma walking to her car, and one of my wife at the grocery store. My stomach twisted into knots. We called the police again, and this time, they seemed to take it more seriously. An officer came out to inspect the package, taking the photos and logging them as evidence. They promised increased patrols around the neighborhood, but the sense of safety we once had was already shattered. Emma's bio mom remained in jail for the assault charges, but it was becoming clear that she had allies willing to continue her campaign of terror. Travis's arrest had only inflamed the situation, pushing whoever was behind these new threats to escalate. We were left wondering who else might be lurking in the background, pulling strings. In the meantime, we're fortifying the house, furthermore cameras, motion sensors, floodlights. The therapist Emma has been seeing is helping her work through the anxiety, and she's starting to regain some of her confidence, piece by fragile piece. My wife and I are trying to stay strong for her, but we know we're in this fight together. Update 6. The last few weeks have been a whirlwind that tested our resolve and pushed us to our limits. But if this journey has taught us anything, it's that true strength isn't just about enduring, it's about fighting back when you're cornered. The night after we received the anonymous letter, Emma and I sat together and decided we couldn't keep living under the shadow of fear. We had done everything we could to protect ourselves. Security measures were maxed out, the police were alerted, and legal action was already in motion. But it still felt like we were playing defense, waiting for the next blow. That had to change. The breakthrough came unexpectedly. One of our neighbors, who had been watching the chaos unfold from their own window, approached us with a tip. They had noticed a suspicious car parked on our street, always at odd hours and always with someone sitting inside. The neighbor had snapped a few photos out of concern and showed them to me. My blood ran cold when I saw the figure in the driver's seat. It was unmistakably Travis. Armed with this new evidence, we contacted the police and pushed harder for action. They took the photos seriously, and it led to a surprising discovery. Travis had been working with Emma's bio mom's sister, someone we hadn't even considered in this tangled mess. She had been the one sending the threatening letters and orchestrating the harassment while Emma's bio mom pulled the strings from jail. The police moved quickly after that. They tracked down Emma's aunt and found more damning evidence, recordings of phone calls and detailed notes planning every harrowing encounter. The conspiracy unraveled in a flurry of arrests. Emma's bio mom's sister was charged with harassment and conspiracy, while Travis faced additional charges for violating restraining orders and stalking. The case against Emma's bio mom strengthened, and her pending charges multiplied. When we got the call that they had been taken into custody, a wave of relief swept through our house. Emma broke down, tears streaming down her face, not from fear, but from the release of it. My wife hugged her tightly, and for the first time in what felt like forever, our home felt lighter. The road to recovery won't be easy. Emma's trust has been shaken, and my wife still flinches at unexpected sounds. But we're no longer looking over our shoulders every second. We're focused on healing, rebuilding, and finding joy in the little moments we once took for granted. As I write this, I'm sitting in our living room, the sun spilling in through the windows. Emma's laughter echoes from the kitchen as she and my wife bake cookies, their laughter overlapping in a way that makes my heart swell. We're moving forward, slowly but surely. The nightmare is ending, and we're stepping out of the shadows together, ready for whatever comes next.